Welcome back, gamers, guys, and girls, to another episode of D&D Brothers. Today, Kyle and I are going to be looking at our campaign, the specifics and details, both of the setting that we're going to be going over, and Kyle's going to bring you up to speed on the characters playing in our sessions. So let's take a little bit of a step back. So when this group was formed, I was a relatively new DM to the 5th edition game set. So we started off with the same group, the same characters and everything like that in the Wizards of the Coast's official game content, Lost Mines of Phandelver. Phandelver. I never remember the name. Anyways, doesn't matter. That's the game we were playing. And so
high quality DMing.
Yeah, that's it exactly. It's adaptation. That's what we're talking about here. No, we're talking about game content. So we played through that campaign, which took us from levels 1 to 5. And when we closed out that session, I went and did my research, and I found out that there were some additional games that took off sort of from that point, or played really well, which Storm King's Thunder actually specifically builds from Lost Mines to carry your characters on from 5th, I think it's to 12th level. So we decided as a group that that's where we wanted to go with this campaign, and I really liked seeing the character development, so I was looking for players that would carry on to higher levels. So Lost Mines and Storm King's Thunder are set in the Forgotten Realms, specifically south of the Spine of the World and sort of east of Neverwinter and the Sea of Storms. So it's Storm King's Thunder covers a lot more ground than Lost Mines. Lost Mines is very concentrated and focuses on a very specific point in the Forgotten Realms, and Storm King's Thunder allows you to explore much more of the Forgotten Realms and really experience the different environments, types of characters and creatures that you meet and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of fun developing the game from that point of view and introducing my players both to new settings. We've had a lot, because it's a giant-based campaign, we've had a lot of interaction with cloud giants. We've had some interaction with some stone giants. We haven't really had much yet with the hill giants. Obviously, the fire giants sort of brought them into the campaign with an assault on... what was the name of the town where they were assaulted? Don't remember, eh? Anyways, they assault one of the towns.
I don't pay attention to stuff like that. I saw giants coming, and I thought the name of the town was not relevant.
It's got to survive.
There was XP rushing at me, so I brought it down. That's how it works for me.
That was a long one too. That fight took 8 hours.
Yeah, that was that was a big one.
That was a big one.
That was
so anyway, from this point, basically to say that we've had a really big opportunity to explore, and now the characters have been to the Spine of the World, and now they're starting to move back into the more southern regions. And as the DM, of course, looking and doing my research and stuff like that, I'm actually really impressed at how much land and territory is available for you guys to explore, and the options that sort of play into Storm King's Thunder and where you can go with side quests and stuff like that. But that's all material for another session. So right now I'm going to turn over to Kyle. And Kyle, let's bring our viewers up to speed on the characters in our game.
Yeah, so right now we are up to 5.5 players, but we started with 4.5 players, and I'll describe how we have a half player going into that. So when the campaign originally started, we were 4 people that Jamie had recruited, and we were kind of trying to create that ultimate party. So I took on the role of kind of like the beefy warrior tank, so I'm playing a barbarian. The barbarian that I'm playing has a bit of a backstory. He carries a unique magical sword that's tied to his family history. It's part of his heritage to carry the sword and to complete a quest that his family has been trying to complete for generations, and the sword has been passed down through the generations. So he has also become kind of the de facto leader of the party. I think a lot of that actually comes from my personality. I just end up being very, I want attention, I get attention, and I want to say a lot of things. So
he's got a lot of opinions.
But they're the right opinions.
Of course,
so
they
that's
are,
really
yeah.
all that matters. So the barbarian has kind of oddly enough become the de facto leader, which has become a point of laughing about it, because I don't even like the intelligence score and stuff like that doesn't necessarily reflect some of the conversations.
Nor does your charisma.
No, my charisma's not high either, but like I'm wooing people and all that in the campaign. So the barbarian, like I said, is kind of the de facto leader of the group. The second person that we'll go over is our rogue, which is Nightbreeze. He has another name, but it's eluding me right now. But we call him Nightbreeze. Kaziel, or whatever it is. He's probably going to be pissed when we watch it.
Yeah, probably.
But I remembered Nightbreeze. He is our sharpshooter. He's an assassin. He has a backstory of he was trapped in the Underdark because he's an elf. I believe he's a wood elf.
Yep.
He's a wood elf. He was trapped in the Underdark for a long period of time and was able to escape, and now harbors obviously a great amount of dislike for the drow, and it has led us to some interesting situations in the campaign where he has no choice but to attack a drow that we see, even if it might not be the most tactically sound decision to be made. So he's usually our guy for investigation, sneaking, that kind of thing.
He's our scout.
He's our scout, yeah. The personality is very much kind of quiet, reserved, strong, silent type, with a bit of a goofy side because he has also missed some shots that resulted in him having to murder a bunch of people, and then he comes back to us and kind of goes over like, hey, we have a situation now because I was off doing this secret mission you asked me to do quietly, and I murdered 50 people.
That's it.
So we have had a few situations where he's got that kind of like comedic side to him, but generally strong, silent type. The third member of the party is our sorcerer, who is a dragonkin, red dragonkin. Dragonborn, sorry. Well, that's still Dragonkin.
Yeah, it
counts. People knew what I was talking
about. I got it, but
anyways,
I just like the opportunity to correct you.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen very often.
Look, Christmas came in February apparently now, so that's your gift. So our Red Dragonborn, who is developing a history with the Dragonborn, discovering the culture as it seems that he was raised away from his culture, and so he's very interested to find out about his heritage. He's also kind of become a little bit more of the analytical point, really getting into some of the weeds of situations and searching for help and stuff like that in interesting places, which has led to a connection with the elements, with and that aspect of really getting into the fire concept because he is a Red Dragonborn. So de facto kind of like and really our only good character actually. So when the party's doing something really sketchy, there's only one voice that tends to pop up and say, hey, maybe killing 30 people isn't the right way to get a sandwich. So that's generally speaking the contribution that we'll see from that, and it's interesting though it is to have that character pop up and just be like, you guys can't do that or you shouldn't do that, and then the whole role playing experience becomes convincing him that it's okay to do this.
Convincing the good character it's okay to do bad stuff.
No, it's like we had to kill those 30 people, but it was a really good sandwich, and now we are more energized to defend other people. That's right. So it's we sacrifice those people for the greater good. That's it. So that's really the interaction with the Dragonborn, whose name is Akila. Last but not least, we have our Eldritch Knight, who is named Zam. The Eldritch Knight is still developing a bit of the backstory. The presence in the group tends to be, oddly enough, not really necessarily story related, but really gets us into situations. Like he doesn't open doors with the handle. He bursts right through them. He's actually created that as now a part of his character identity, that he always breaks down doors. So even if it's completely ridiculous to be breaking down the door, like we're trying to let the rogue or the assassin sneak in and investigate stuff, he just breaks through the door. And we have definitely had a few situations where we are ill prepared for what's on the other side of the door, because the nature of doors is you don't generally know what's behind them. So sometimes it works out, and sometimes somebody's face gets bitten off.
That's right.
So that's our Eldritch Knight again, and also to developing, like I said, that storyline of the character was kind of quiet at the beginning, a little bit more reserved, but now we're starting to see that development and a little bit more interaction. And oddly enough, the personality seems to be selfish, but like doesn't want to lose the party. So like he steals stuff and then gets in trouble for it, and then he feels guilty and gives it back, and it's very entertaining because
it's a very interesting dynamic that he has developed with the rest of the players.
We have to role play him being like, maybe they won't notice that I stole this, but he's really shitty at it, so we always catch him stealing stuff. So anyways, we can definitely want to discuss. There's some funny situations that have happened with him and his kleptomania.
Well, he's our gong ringer, by the way.
If you've watched our video on the most recent session, he was the one who rang the gong. And now we also have a fifth member of the party who is our bard, who joined quite a bit later. The bard's name is Otto Von Twoone. And he joined in basically just a wandering minstrel and was looking for something, I guess, to write songs and stuff about. And but we are now starting to see that his personality, the character, is very aloof, very fun, gets very frustrated frustrated when he can't talk his way out of a situation, hates to fight. But we're also starting to see that there may actually be some connections that he's written into his backstory between us and the rest of the party. So he has actually also now taken over a lot of the role of the negotiator of the group, of trying to make sure that
he's created a couple of hurdles
if
for
there's
me.
a way to get more out of a situation, he's definitely the guy that we go to for that. So it's been very, very entertaining. And he also has no hesitation with casting spells on the group or manipulating the group to get what he wants.
Very
so it's
amoral.
definitely added a very interesting dynamic to the group where, Jamie as the DM has to work with now a player who's using the rules to manipulate the other players. So that's definitely interesting. And the half member of our group is, when we started the group, we were 4. We wanted to have a complete party of, warrior up front, the rogue for assassination, sneaking, a spellcaster, and then finally some form of healer. And unfortunately, we didn't have anybody who really wanted to play a healer, but we thought that it was really important. Jamie especially, we talked about it with him, that it would be difficult to run a campaign without any form of healing other than, what you could purchase or stuff like that, which, you can work around it, but it is difficult. And because it was maybe a choice that was made about the party that was based a little bit on an experience, I think we had a conversation or two about it where we introduced a goblin that we found and saved, and he has now been touched by the divine and become a cleric. So he works very closely with our assassin, and they're pretty tight, and he's basically the group healer, and has actually, oddly enough, become almost a second character for our assassin player, because there have been some storyline implications with the goblin, whose name is Yeemik, that we actually pursued, that you used him as a vessel for a storyline, and the player who's playing the assassin, who's now also playing the goblin cleric, did really well in being able to develop a personality for him as well. So that's our little band of 5.5. We still don't have a name for our adventures.
No, we
can
haven't.
never agree on a name. So we're just kind of the anonymous ones that wander around.
Nightbreeze's name has become a bugbear bedtime story.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, that was all. That was
a large portion due to you. That's it.
To develop a reputation. So every time we killed bugbears for a while, we left the name Nightbreeze in it. So he's now become a horror story in the bugbear community.
So that's it.
So that's where we're at in our campaign now, with our characters and the setting. So when you watch our videos now concerning what's happening week to week in the sessions, you will know a little bit more about who we're actually referring to and what type of setting that we're actually in. So if you have any questions about the group or how we formed the group or what our decision making was for the group, feel free to ask any questions below, and we'll make sure to respond to them. And I'll let Jamie finish off the video.
As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification down below so that you get updates when we upload new content. And as always, keep on gaming.